Hello again, race car fans. So we got another Kyosho coming in, and it's a new box. I haven't seen this before. It says Ferrari Racing Mini Car Collection. So they have a dedicated Ferrari racing car collection. I never knew about that. And look at this. It says 800 yen, which is around $8. And let's see when this was made. 2007. So this is a new collection for me. And there's only 6 of them in this collection. So interesting. Okay. Well, alright. So I'm constantly learning about Kyosho. They just have so many different collections out there. It's like an endless pool of models to collect from those guys. Here's this card here. So, the 430 replaced the 360. The GT is meant for racing. It's a stripped out version meant for racing. And it's available in 2006. The weight is 1,100 kilos. They're a regular street car at a 4.3 liter, but FIA rules made them run 2 restrictors, so these things were dropped down to 4 liters, and they still had 2 air restrictors, so it had 440 horsepower. So the street car actually, I think, made more power than the race cars. Even so, it was a really successful race car. It was competing against the Porsche GT3 RSR, and it won its class wins in 2007, 9, 2010 at the 12 Hours of Sebring, and also 2008 and 2009 at the 24 Hours of Le Mans, and same years for the Petit Le Mans. So, pretty successful race car, I think. I was not aware this is a model kit. Well, it wasn't too hard to put the model kit together. I had to force the seat through the little opening of the interior, but it got in there. Yeah, I pulled up a photo of the real car, and look, it's quite similar. I guess the front vents, though, you'll see how the front vent is below the top of the wheel. So Kyosho got this wrong. I mean, this front vent is way too tall. So I'm not sure how they could have made that mistake. That's such a blatantly odd decision. And it's actually cast in. You can see the little ridges of the vent. So it's actually the casting. It's not a paint problem. Well, it's both, but yeah, so that's definitely off. But the wheels, the mesh, it looks pretty good. You got the center knockoff. There's a vent here, but no additional paint, unfortunately, which is weird because there's black paint on this one, but they chose to skip it there. All the sponsorships, though, looks pretty good. It's all tampo printed. And then you got a little side mirror, side glass that's supposed to slide there, so that's a nice detail. I couldn't find an image of the number 63 car from the back, but this looks pretty similar. The exhaust tip sticking out. There's no grill on any of these race cars, I don't think, but Kyosho wasn't going to mold all this craziness, I guess, so they just chose to put a grill back there. But everything, it looks generally like it, I think. Although maybe these vents could be bigger. You see how thin that is? Right there, underneath the vent. This is really thick. I guess that's one of the issues with casted metal. You can't have super thin pieces. But the wing here, it's not bad. The struts aren't too wide. And it looks thick from the back, but from the side you can see it actually is pretty thin there. Right, so I think it's okay. Alright, so definitely some shortcomings compared to the real car, but I'm not sure if there's a better F430GT out there in this scale. Alright, so we talked about the wheels. It does roll, okay. It is nice to see that paint there in the vent. The mirrors, there's no additional paint here, unfortunately, but they painted at least the front part. And for casted in mirrors, that's not bad. It's a little thin there, so that's not bad, actually. That rear wing, yeah, I think, I'm just seeing if it's a decal or not. Sometimes these Kyoshos have decals, but no, this looks like it's all tampo printed, so this should be pretty good for the foreseeable future. Decals crack off, but tampo prints don't. These are pretty cool, the yellow lenses, and then the light bucket behind it's got some lights molded in there. There's a vent here, but no paint again. Okay. So the front end, we got pretty deep vents there, and there's a texture, so that's pretty good. That looks pretty realistic. Little Ferrari badge, it's not out of proportion. This side, no major problems except for this thing again. It's really weird why they would do that. Unless maybe there's a running change. I don't know how many, these things started in 2006 and they ran up until 2010. So maybe that photograph I pulled up was a different year. So you know what? Yeah, I don't know. Maybe Kyosho did the right thing. It's just I didn't pull up the right photograph. That is a possibility. Okay. Well, you know it's a screwed together base because they put it together, but here are the tire treads. They look pretty nice. And then, yeah, decent detail, I guess, for a race car. Yeah, the texture back there. It's nice to see a little silver paint on these dimensional exhaust tips. And then naturally, that's a pretty deep vent bottoming out to the plastic base there. The taillights, they are transparent, red taillights, so that's nice. And then that's just flat. It should be a grill, but they printed in some sponsorship in there. And then the prancing horse is nicely printed as well. Is there anything up here, I'm wondering? I don't see anything up there. Okay. Yeah, there's that engine looking through the interior there. You saw the interior earlier. So, all in all, it's a pretty cool model. It's, I mean, for $8, I guess, can you really complain? Can anyone else show me a better $8 model? I don't know. Kyosho does a good job for the price. It's not perfect, and I'm pretty sure in the future this is going to get paint rash. Actually, yeah, a tiny bit is developing right there. So, this isn't really a red, by the way. It's in between orange and red. It's not your traditional Ferrari red. So, it's almost like trying to be a neon color. I'm not sure how it's going to show up on your screen, but yeah, that's my impression there. Okay, so quick review there. Let's compare it to a bunch of other Kyosho F430s. I seem to have quite a bit. I'm not sure if I have heavy casting from them, so I just did this, for this particular model here, but here are the road-going versions. This I think, is from their early collection, and it's definitely showing. It's got these weird chromed-out wheels that I've never seen a Ferrari have. It's got super flat slab-sided tires, which aren't good. And then these headlights have nothing behind them, so that it's just not very good. This badge looks like an iPad instead of a logo on a real car. So the very first few 1 and 2 Kyosho Ferrari collections, they're simply not very good by their later standards. It still has plastic headlights front and back, and molded black interiors, but just look at the other ones. They're all from later collections, right? They do have details behind the lenses, and the wheels are silver, not chrome, so much better. Okay, so I just thought I'd show those off, but this is more about the race versions. These are obviously the street versions. So let's get these out of here. So there is this plain one, which I had for a while. It's the same casting. It's just the plain and more of a Ferrari red. You can clearly see the difference in the reds there, right? So I got this one pretty cheap. That's why I have it in my collection. But if you're gonna have a Ferrari race car, you might as well have it with all the racing details, right? So that's why I ended up buying one of these after the fact. And it also has, the yellow headlights are a little bit different, so it's different enough, I guess, that I think it's good to have. And then this is an F430 Challenge, which I think came before the GT. And so that one is obviously in a racing livery, but there's obviously no giant wing on the back, and so it's a different casting. yeah, the front ends are different for sure. Okay, well, there's a lot of Ferrari F430s put out by Kyosho. I kind of wish they would go back and redo the very first road version because this simply isn't good enough. But I don't know, Kyosho doesn't seem to really pursue the 1/64 scale market these days. They don't really seem to put out new products too often. Okay. Well, anyways, I do appreciate you guys taking the time to look. If you're interested in some F430s, Kyosho is definitely a good brand to look to. Just don't get the very first collection. But all the other ones are quite nice indeed. So, alright, well, hopefully I'll see you guys maybe in another F430 review. Thanks.